All right, so we are on the final day here of our shading. Last class, you were supposed to find your darkest values. For today, we're going to try and go in and find those grays, and you're going to need a blending stump out along with your pencil packs, okay? So when you're trying to find the grays, try to remember to use your values that you have here to guide you. We know that I used 6B last time because that was my darkest value. Today I would probably suggest you go in with a 2B or possibly a B, okay? So now that I know what my darkest areas are, I'm just going to try and find some of those gray areas with my next lighter pencil. And then after that, I'm going to take the blending stump and I'm going to try and really blend those edges and soften corners, okay? So if I'm looking here, I'm just kind of studying my eye shape. There's a little bit of a shadow here. Again, it's kind of subtle and light. A little bit of a shadow here. And of course, I want it to match up with my photo too, so I can see that this is a line that's continuing from my photo into my drawing, okay? So make sure you look at not only the photo that you've cut away, but also the photo that you have on your paper, and kind of how you're gonna match that up to your drawing, okay? My little feather earring here, that's a very nice subtle little gray. And then it lightens up again on the edges, so there's that little bit of contrast. So I'm just gonna put down a little bit of pigment. A lot of noses are gonna have a lot of values. So you probably found your darkest values. Now again, remember, look for those value shapes. What shape is that? You try to find the edge of that value shape. And that's gonna help tell you where you should shade in. My bottom lip here has like a very much of a highlight on the top. So I'm gonna kind of leave that lighter and kind of more of a medium gray here, okay? So remember, this is just a process. Just putting down some pigments. Now a lot's gonna happen when we use the blending stump, just like when we were shading the sphere. Okay, got a little bit of a shadow right under my lip there. Trying to find that value shape so that it matches. I'm using a sort of lighter touch here too so that I can get a nicer scale. Right here, a little bit of a kind of grayer area on the chin. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of finish my shadow off on the neck area here. So right where my edge was of my darker value here, I'm going to go in now and create those medium values. Okay. Even pay attention to the subtle shadows, like right here on my cheekbone, we can see there's a little bit of value here as compared to right here where there's like a highlight. So I'm gonna accentuate that a little bit, follow kind of right into my photo and just build up a little bit of value in there. My ear is not very stark white, it's actually kind of more of a gray, so we're gonna tone that a bit. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to take the blending stump and I'm going to go in there and kind of smooth out some of those edges and just kind of see what I get. And then depending on how I think it turned out, I'll kind of decide whether I want to add more or take away any with an eraser. Now sometimes, for example, I want my blending stump to have a little less value than it does on it right now. So you can always use a scratch sheet of paper and you can actually color a little bit of that lead off of your blending stump. Okay, so see, now it's a little bit cleaner. Okay, and that's just one technique to get that those really subtle light areas, because your blending stump will get a lot of pencil lead on it. The more you use it, the more pencil lead's going to build up on it. So don't be afraid to kind of clean it off a little bit when you need to. Okay, just kind of softening things here. Okay, right around the eye there. And it's kind of interesting. So now that I'm softening things, that's great. But I'm also going to end up probably going back at some point here and sharpening things again. It's just a back and forth. So just as I've softened some of these edges, I'm going to go back and possibly darken some of my shadows again so that I don't lose my contrast. It's quite a balance to find the right setup between your dark values and your subtle values. So it's just always back and forth, adjusting. A little bit of a shadow right here. right under the nose. And so now for those super subtle values like that little right under my nose that are super hard to get, I'm just using the blending stump because that has plenty of enough lead for me to get the shadow that I need. Okay, blend it that a little bit. I'm going to go in and sharpen that edge of my bottom lip here in just a second. Okay, now it's getting a little too much on it, so kind of clean it off a little bit. Okay, darken that shadow right there. Just always very subtle, push and pull, push and pull. Now I'm going to blend out that shadow on my neck a little bit nicer. Okay. So really, today, just finding those grays, plotting down those grays with your lighter pencil with a B or a 2B. And then finally, we're just going to soften those value shapes using our blending stump so we get a more natural look, okay? And like I said, you can also use your blending stump as the value shaping tool on its own. If it has enough value on it, sometimes that's helpful to get those tricky little soft edges that you can't get any other way. Okay, so we're getting quite a bit closer. At this point, and what I would do probably is go in and darken those darker areas just to really try and crisp things out. And then we'll be getting ready to start working on the rest of your paper. So let me know if you need any help.